My name is Bond. James Bond. Oh, sorry, I thought that. Hello and welcome to a new video. Today you join me in a Aston Martin. Yes, this is a Aston Martin, the car from 007. That's the thing that most people know this car for. And let me just start it up, otherwise I'm gonna start boiling. And you do so, you start up this car by placing the key inside this starter button on the center console. It's a very unusual way of doing it. It's a very Aston way of doing it. It's not the most practical way, but it's very theatrical. So you just place the key and you keep pressing it. And this V12 comes to life. How do I get this going? Like this. Yes, temperature, AC is on. It's the first time using the AC in this car. So it's also a test to see how it works. As I was saying, this is a DB9. I have driven this car before, a few years ago, but this car was once again lent to me by a good friend of mine. He lent me this car to review. It's a very special car. The way I'm looking at this car is more as a piece of jewelry than actually just an automobile. In this car is hand-built, which in it of itself, it's more of a craftsmanship type of car. Its character, it's very defined, at least in my mind. The way I'm seeing it, this car's character is very GT. This car's character is very, darling, do you want to go out for dinner tonight? Oh yes, James, please, let's go to dinner tonight. What shall we take? Well, the DB9, of course, darling. It's more of that type of car. It's a car that you take to enjoy the ride. It's a very comfortable ride. The car it's low, yes, but it isn't that low. The steering, it's heavy, but it's still manageable. It's got somewhat of a creature comfort. This era for Aston Martin wasn't the best in terms of interior function, but it was, in my opinion, very good in terms of interior design. The way this console rises up, the seats, they are over here instead of down here, which first there is no space, then you have your parking brake right here, and it's not good because you're going to scratch your Mont Blanc watch or your Rolex, whereas in this car you can easily see where the seat adjustments are, the memory for the seats themselves, they are very comfortable, but the seating position, at least for my body, I'm around 1.90 m, 6'2" for your Brits and your American guys. So I'm fairly tall, and driving position, it is very relaxed. It isn't the most sporty driving position around. It's a comfortable, relaxed driving position. The seats, they hug you, but they don't hug you far too much. Also, the roofline. The roofline is very low. I've seen this on other cars like Ferraris, for example, Lamborghinis. The roofline is very low, so you feel like you're in a cocoon. A Porsche, for example, it's much more airy feeling. You feel like you've got a lot more space. I don't feel crammed, but I do feel that the roofline, it cuts off my line of sight a little bit. The rake on the windshield, it's also prominent. It is what it is, but it's a very nice place to be. Everything is covered in leather. You have metal. This is solid metal. This car weighs, if I'm not mistaken, 1,760 kilos or 1,800 kilos. And I do understand why. First, you have a big lump of a V12 up front. It's a 6-liter V12, 477 horsepower, 650, I think it's 600 or 650 Newton meters of torque. Then inside you've got GPS, which I'm not going to use because it's ancient. It's an old Volvo unit. It doesn't work very well. It looks much better with it shut like it is right now. Leather, metal, the paddles right here, metal cover, metal and leather. So they went all out in terms of the quality of material that they used. Fit and finish, it's good, but remember, it's a hand-built car. So a few things will be hit and miss, but not not many. You can also see some switchgear, like the levers right here, they were borrowed from some car, perhaps a Ford. The switchgear for the windows as well, it's covered in, I think, metal. Yeah, I think the surrounding is metal, but the buttons themselves are plastic and probably borrowed from another car. The dials are a thing to behold, to look at. So what this means is they are very, very pretty to look at, but they aren't the best to read. And let me explain. The speedometer is fairly okay. You can read it normally, but the rev counter, it goes counterclockwise. It doesn't have a precise marking where the red line is. So this car red lines at around 6,500 RPM, and I don't have a clear distinction of where it is. I need to be looking for it. As I'll explain later, this car was designed to be as like a piece of jewelry, like a very expensive watch. Why do you need an expensive watch? Well, you really don't, but you want it anyway, because a lot of expensive watches, the only thing that they do is tell the time. A few of them tell the date as well, but it's very limited what they do. The craftsmanship that went into them, that's what you're paying for. This car is more or less the same. But let's get going. The way that we start moving forward with this car is we have here the gear selectors adjacent to the engine start-stop button, and you just press D, it goes into automatic mode, and off we go. The other thing with this car, it's got a long bonnet. Long bonnet. So you do need to be careful with the length up front. This is a 4-seater, however, you're sitting far back and you've got a long bonnet ahead of you. The dash itself is very big, the bonnet is even bigger. It's a really good thing to behold. In terms of specs, what are we dealing with? Well, we are dealing with a V12, yes, a granddaddy of engines. It's a very uncommon engine these days. It's an engine that it's on its way out, if we are honest. They've already started downsizing. It's no longer 6-liter V12, it's got twin turbos because of emissions, pollution, baby dolphins, all of that jazz. We now need to downsize our engines in an effort to produce less CO2 emissions. And I do acknowledge that that's a necessity, yes, but I'm on Jeremy Clarkson's team. Give me more power. So we have, as I said, a V12, a 6-liter V12 with 477 horsepower, 600 or 650 Newton meters. I cannot remember right now because I'm busy trying not to crash this car, and a 6-speed torque converter automatic gearbox. The engine, well, it's got a character of its own. It's a slow revving engine. It's a very, very smooth engine, as you'd expect from a V12. It's got plenty of power, but being naturally aspirated, what happens is that the torque isn't very available down low. There is a lot of torque, yes, but the majority of torque, I think, the torque peaks at 6,000 RPM, if I'm not mistaken, which is up top, red line 6,500. It's not really an issue because there is power down low, but the way that this car moves, it's more like a freight train. You feel a lot of grunt pulling you out. Which, I don't know if you can hear this. There is this little sort of rattle. It goes away sometimes, but it's like a rattle or sort of a squeak. I don't know if it's because of it's hand built, but it does this sometimes when you're driving. You just forget about it, or if you cannot forget about it, you pull the paddle, you take 2 gears down, and you floor it. While yes, it is a capable car, first you do feel the 1,700, 1,800 kilos. Second, it's a very intimidating car to drive. I don't know if it's the proportions of the car, or if it's the fact that you're sitting in a very cocoon place, visibility is cut. It does feel more intimidating. But as I was saying, this car does not pull you towards a very spirited type of driving. You do not get inside this car and think, oh, I'm going to go for a good mountain road. No. You take this car because you are going to a fancy dinner, or you want to treat yourself to a nice occasion. You're driving this car, it's the feeling of occasion, the whole turning on the car, the way it comes to life, the starter motor, the symphony that it produces. One thing this car, is that 3M, the clown shoe, very nice, in yellow. Not my favorite color, but very nice nonetheless. First gear right here, 4,000 RPM. It moves. It's got, as near as makes no difference, it's got 500 horsepower. I mean, it's going to move. This car wasn't engineered to be a sports car to take to a mountain road and thrash it. No, you can take it to a mountain road, you can enjoy the scenery, you can hear the noise of the car, which is, I mean, it's bloody brilliant. One thing to keep in mind, GT again, it's not very, very loud. This car would benefit from, well, if it was me, I would straight pipe it. It would be incredible. I don't know if you can hear it or not, but it's so beautiful. It's like majestic. Then you've got your gearbox. What's going on with this gearbox? Well, as I said, a 6-speed torque converter. When you're on it, really on it, it changes somewhat quickly. Not very quickly. I came out of a dual clutch gearbox and oh my god, it's two worlds apart. But the thing is, ZF, they've got their new torque converter, 8-speed. When I say new, take it with a grain of salt. But they've got their 8-speed gearbox and it's light years ahead of this one. This one, it's an old gearbox. You can tell it is old. This guy's going to move out of the way, sport mode. I'm just going to show you a little bit of it, what it is. Downshifts, they aren't that crisp, but it pulls very nicely. It isn't frightening the way this car pulls. Downshift, it rev matches, yes, but it isn't the best rev matching around the business. What this gearbox excels at is at slushing in the gears. Don't worry about it, put it in automatic mode. This car, it's fast, it's very brisk, but just take it to France, take it to the south of France, enjoy the mountain road. It will take corners very well. You've got a tremendous sensation of safety. Only rarely have I felt that this car was going to step out on me, and I do feel that that's because of the tires. This car isn't on the freshest of tires, and it would benefit from newer tires. If it had newer tires, it would get more traction, and that sensation that I got probably wouldn't happen. Despite what I'm saying, it's still got 480 horsepower going to the rear wheels, to the, I don't know how to say wheels, to the back tires, yeah? Which is plenty. The tarmac is good, but another thing, suspension. Suspension is clearly tuned for touring, for bumpy roads, for, I guess, British roads. So going on about the thing that I was saying before, which is this car doesn't really pull you to be very brutal, to be very quick. The brakes are more than adequate. They are very firm the first time you press on them. They have a very good feel. You can hear the sound bouncing off of the walls. You have a melody going all the time. That's why you have this engine. That's why you have this lump of an engine. I don't know if you can hear these rattles, but I mean, probably the part of being hand built. So as I've been saying, engine, it's a tremendous engine. It doesn't rev very high, but a lot of these engines, they don't. It's the character of the engine. It's an engine to take you across a country in comfort, smoothly. The gearbox, it's very good driving slowly, it's mediocre driving quickly. These cars, they don't get driven a lot because it's just part of what they were sort of meant to do. They were meant to be occasionally driven, the sense of occasion. They are not frugal cars by any means. I've been driving this car and I've got a full tank, nearly, and I can do 320 kilometers because I'm driving in the middle of the city, mountain roads. If I was doing motorway, probably I could get out of this car 500, 600 kilometers, I would say. My average is at 20.8 liters. This car, I don't know what will bankrupt you first, depreciation or the fuel consumption. But at least the fuel consumption, you're having fun, depreciation, not really. Going over a speed bump, it's pliant, it's very, very pliant, it's very comfortable. So the idea that I'm trying to put out is that Aston, when they designed this car, they were going for GT, and they nailed that. Driving more and more this car, and I'm understanding what the type of customer and what the type of driving situations this car is really good for. I don't know if I would buy it personally because, well, I'm young and there is no need for a car of this type. It's expensive, so I would have to remortgage my liver, my kidneys, and perhaps 1 or 2 legs to purchase and to maintain this car. My style is different. I like a different type of car, but I do see why someone would buy this car. I'm enjoying it very much. Seats, comfortable, lumbar support. It's got bottom lumbar, it's got 50 times of lumbar support, down low, mid-back. It's absolutely astonishing. Aston, they went all out to give you a very pleasant experience. They want you to go to God knows where rich people go and just enjoy. This car is an incredible proposition for that specific idea. Another piece of attention to detail. This headliner, it's covered in Alcantara or suede, but it's lovely. It's absolutely lovely. The way that the doors open upwards. And why? Well, it's to clear sidewalks. The gentleman, James, that drives this car and takes his wife to the opera and to the lavish restaurant, doesn't want his doors to scrape on the sidewalk. Can you hear it? Can you hear this V12? This V12 needs to be close to walls, at least in this car because it's got stock exhaust. It needs to be close to walls, and then you just hear all this incredible melody that it's just being phased out, completely phased out. And the steering, it's got a nice weight to it. Sometimes you feel things happening. You feel a little jolt here, jolt there. It isn't the most communicative steering as well, but it's good. It's not the most direct steering, and by direct I mean it doesn't have the shortest ratios, but it's precise. The overall handling of the car, you turn the steering and it just goes where you want it to go. The more you drive the car, the more you trust the car. This type of road is what this car enjoys to be at. It's a nice road, nice scenery. You get to trust this car as you start driving it. It doesn't give you trust right away. The whole idea of the car, it's supposed to be very beautiful, very theatrical. People see you arriving with this car, and they look at you and they think, ooh, he's doing a lot of business. He can only be doing a lot of business. Yes, indeed, business. And now, I think it's time for me to give you my final thoughts on this car. I came into this car with sort of a preconceived idea that it was very lumpy and not all that enjoyable. I always used to say that I would take a Porsche instead of this car, and I would still take a Porsche if I had enough money to keep one of these around, or a different Aston. I think there There is a certain character about the Aston Martin brand which I like. It wouldn't be my go-to brand, at least from this experience. But if perhaps I try a manual version or a Vantage V12 or a new Vantage, something like that, perhaps I would change my mind. With this specific model, as I was saying, I came with my mind already made, not already made up, but it was already bent in a certain way. And having spent a lot of time with this car made me realize what type of product it is, what type of client it is catering for. This is an experience which I now understand why somebody would want to buy an Aston, even if they had a Porsche GT2 RS or a Ferrari 458. I understand why you'd want an Aston in your fleet of supercars. It's a very uncompromised driving experience after you get to know the car. I found myself liking it more and more and more. It wasn't love at first sight, no, but it was a love that developed quite easily over time. I got to appreciate this car as if it was a piece of art. The way that they combine all these materials, the incredible sound that comes out of that exhaust, which I still think should be louder, but I do understand why it isn't. If you want a louder V12, get a DBS or something like that. Effortless power, wafting along, in tremendous comfort, in tremendous luxury. Also, not 5 things, I'm not car world, but a few things that annoyed me in this car. One of them, the door pull. These door pulls, they are not ergonomic. The windows, they have automatic down, they don't have automatic up. I don't know why. Infotainment system, absolutely atrocious, worthless piece of sh**. Also, another thing that I didn't really enjoy, it's got a little bit of theater, yes, but perhaps it's lack of adjustment on my behalf. But these buttons here for the Gearbox B, R, N, and D, they are interesting to look at, but they are not the most practical in the world. I come to a stop, I can pull both paddles, it goes into neutral, otherwise I need to press this button right here. When I want to pull away, I pull the right paddle, it goes into first gear. Guess what? It doesn't go to automatic mode, it goes to manual mode. I need to press the D here. So that's it, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this review of this car. To be honest, I'm starting out this YouTube channel. I still don't really have a clue what the hell I'm doing. I'm trying to figure out what I like talking about, what you like hearing about. I'm trying not to forget what I want to talk about, because yes, that happens to me quite a lot. I forget what I want to talk about and then I repeat myself and then I don't say things that I want to say. It's a mess, but I think I'm getting there. If you have something that you'd like me to talk about when I do my reviews, feel free to let me know in the comments down below. I would also appreciate if you could share this video, like this video, do all the things that you know how to do. Subscribe to this channel as well. It's very important that you subscribe to this channel. Fortunately, I have very good friends that are lending me their cars so that I can review them for you, for your pleasure, for science. But I also need more visibility so that I can bring you other cars, more modern cars, different type of cars. So subscribing to my channel will help me quite a lot. With that said, I hope you all enjoyed this video very much, and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye! The ashtray right here. It's a glass ashtray. Who the hell puts a metal ashtray in a car? Aston Martin does, sir. James, sir, do you want your ashtray metal, gold, diamond? Aston Martin.